Hey, Mama Bears, it's Hillary Ferrer with Mama Bear Apologetics, and with me is
Amy Davison, also with Mama Bear Apologetics, and
Elizabeth Urbanowitz with Foundation Worldview.
And this is the Mama Bear Apologetics and Foundation Worldview Curriculum's kind of collaborative effort that we actually figured out a shorter name from the one that we mentioned yesterday. This is 5 days of tips and tricks for quality quarantine time with your kids. That's fun,
still
right?
Quite a mouthful, but yeah.
Still quite a mouthful. We're working on it. It's a work in progress. So today is Worldview Wednesday, and so we are going to have one of the many books that Elizabeth used to read with her kiddos when she was an elementary school teacher. And today's book is called, we'll hold it up, Elizabeth.
Yes,
Scaredy Squirrel.
Scaredy Squirrel.
It's so cute.
It is really cute. And so look for links in the YouTube that for copyright reasons, we don't know if we're allowed to read it, but someone else has made that decision and they've read it. So we can at least just link to what they're doing so that you can read along with your kids. And Elizabeth tried to find you the least annoying voice possible.
Yes.
Who knew there was something to look out for?
Okay, you gotta imitate some of the ones, Elizabeth, that you didn't choose.
Oh my goodness. So when people are reading books to kids, one thing I was always passionate about as a teacher is I was like, I'm going to talk to you as if you are a real human being. But some of the voices like, okay, boys and girls, today we're going to read a book called Scaredy Squirrel. So we tried to get you some more adult voices than that.
Oh my gosh, I just could not be that person. I've always worked with teenagers. No. I'll do it if I'm anyway, yeah. If you love doing the voices like that, more power to you. So, but we tried to find you a video that the person spoke a little bit more like a normal human. So we'll kind of summarize the plot for us, Elizabeth. What's kind of going on in Scaredy Squirrel?
Yeah, well, Scaredy Squirrel is the main character in this book, and he is scared of everything. And the opening page of this book says that he requires that everybody wash their hands with antibacterial soap before touching the book. So this is perfect. It's a book about fear, but which is important to talk about in this time, but it's great because it does it in a really humorous way. Like you just see how Scaredy Squirrel's fears really paralyze him and they just keep him from missing out on everything. So Scaredy Squirrel, has this emergency plan, and then he's scared of tons of things, and one day he sees something he's really scared of and it causes him to freak out and the plan just fails. But through it, he learns that there's less to fear than he actually thought. So this is a great book to go over with our kids right now, just to open up the topic of fear so that we can begin talking about, just the different things that are going on and, what healthy fear is, versus actual fear that controls us, that does not honor God.
Yeah. And I would say that, we're going to give you 3 questions to really be thinking about when you go through these with your kids. And the 3 questions we have are, why are we staying in? Because I think it's kind of fun that we have Scaredy Squirrel who's kind of doing it's almost like a self-quarantine, would y'all say, for Scaredy Squirrel?
Yeah.
But,
oh, yeah.
Yes. And so, but we want to kind of be able to laugh and poke fun at that of, Scaredy Squirrel's really scared, but we need to say, why are we staying in? So Amy, what would you say would be a good way that you've been explaining to your boys, why are we staying in?
Yeah, so we've been telling them about that germs are contagious. We just wanted to be realistic with them because it's the truth as they are, and it was great because they were able to watch a video by a former NASA scientist, Mark Rober, on YouTube that explained in a really fun way with kids how germs are transmitted and everything. So we wanted them to be aware, but as we're going to get to, and what Hillary mentioned, which I think is so great, is not just focusing on how it can affect me, but also showing the other side that it can actually be an act of love as we're staying inside so we don't potentially pass these on to others. So it's great because it puts fear in its place. Like, we need to be aware of this, but it also doesn't make it the primary. So we're thinking, okay, how can we minister to others, which is great because I've got one of my boys right now. I just went out there and he was like, Mom, look, I'm making gas masks out of Pringles cans. So he's kind of like Scaredy Squirrel. Like I'm like, okay, this is good. So we're going to work on that after we're done recording. But yeah, so it's great. I'll post pictures.
Oh, that sounds awesome. Yeah. So there's a lot of ways I think that we can love. We're not only just loving others, because we've heard in the news that it's more the very young children, like babies, that are most susceptible before their immune systems have really developed. You have the immunocompromised ones, which would actually be someone like me. I've always kind of joked that whatever anybody else got was what I was getting next, because that's just kind of the way it was. It's just the reality. And so we're loving them, but we're also loving our healthcare professionals who are basically overrun with the number of people that are coming in. So it's not that this flu is like the bubonic plague and it's gonna, if you get it, it's a death sentence. That's not necessarily the case. It's more like in their wisdom of saying, we can't handle this many people at the doctor at the same time. We are loving them by doing what we can to slow that spread. And we're also showing a certain amount of obedience to this. These are the healthcare professionals and the authorities in this situation. And we are going to love by obeying what they said, because I think obedience to authority is an act of love in itself.
Yeah. Right.
Yep. It's great for kids to see us adults being obedient too, because so often kids are like, they think that they're the ones that always have to be obedient. So we can really model that from a parent side, like, look, mommy and daddy are being obedient here. So it just helps.
Yeah. Yep. So that's a good point. So our first question is kind of, why are we staying in? Is it because of Scaredy Squirrel, or is it because of, I don't know, who's our like alter ego for Scaredy Squirrel, that like courageous squirrel?
Sensible squirrel.
Sensible squirrel. There we go. We've got sensible squirrel. We're going to be sensible squirrels, not scaredy squirrels. And then secondly, and this is something that Scaredy Squirrel does, is he goes through the advantages and disadvantages of staying in. And I think that kind of gives our kids the opportunity to say, hey, there's some things that kind of stink about having to stay in, but let's purposely look for what are some of the advantages. What do you think about that, Elizabeth?
Yeah, that's a great idea, to actually just make a list of, okay, here's some things we're disappointed about, like baseball practice got canceled. This play I've been working on for months got canceled. These are disadvantages, but you know what? Let's look at all these advantages. We have so much more family time. We've been able to get out and explore nature, more. We've been able to have, like more sleep than typical, just to look at what are some of these advantages that we have during this season.
So that would be good. And then our final question is, what is our plan? I think that as a family, you should have a plan for when you're going to the store, or if you see people outside, or, everybody's kind of had a plan for the zombie apocalypse for the last how many years? It's like, this is a chance to have an actual kind of zombie apocalypse plan, but let's not call it that. But yeah, say, what is our plan? What's our plan? We're going to stay this far away from people. I want mom to always, mom or dad to always be within eyesight, and, little things like that. It gives you a chance to discuss your plan. And then, it kind of ways for if they can even call you, if you're being a scaredy squirrel, and be like, Mom, you're being a scaredy squirrel. And you're like, you're right. I should be a sensible squirrel. And just, again, a time to reiterate, what are the pros and cons? So
yeah, and a great passage of scripture just to follow up with this is Psalm 46, because that passage of scripture just talks about, God's sovereignty over both, the good and the bad, that not that these things are directly caused by him, but that they are never beyond his control. And then that psalm ends, with be still and know that I am God. And the reason that we can be sensible squirrels is because we're secure, that we know that nothing that happens to us is beyond the scope of God's sovereignty. And so we can just rest in that. So Psalm 46, great resource to follow up with.
We can be sensible squirrels because we serve a God who's the sovereign squirrel. Squirrels. Sorry, I just said the other S word. I'm like, ooh, it's another S word.
Yes, sovereign.
Yep.
That's awesome.
The great sovereign squirrel in the sky.
Oh gosh. Maybe don't teach that to your kids.
Yeah, maybe don't.
Sovereignty is a good concept.
I don't know. I think the Lord laughed at my joke. So anyways, so that is our Worldview Wednesday. We hope that Scaredy Squirrel helps you and your squirrels not to be scaredy squirrels. So be sensible squirrels, and we will see you tomorrow for Theology Thursday. Thanks. Bye.
Bye. See ya.